Hey everyone, I am back today, and today we're talking about time management and time investments. So every year I do a time management video, and I believe I've done one earlier today too. All of the links to those videos are in the description box. I wanted to touch on a slightly different viewpoint of time management and how I go about doing it so that there is some sort of a structure and there's a timeline to my time management, right? So I don't want to be just randomly living my life and losing track of time, and before I know it, I'm older and I haven't accomplished anything. So I will kind of share with you how I came to think the way that I think about time and how you can incorporate some of those things if you care to into your own time management plan. So one thing that we always say in our time management videos, Irfan and I, is that we're not expecting anybody. Who's that? Oh no. Okay, so this has never happened before, but somebody is here. So anyways, let me keep talking and let's see what happens. Maybe they're just turning. So time is the great equalizer, correct? Everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. Nobody has more, nobody has less. We seem to think that we're so busy and we don't have time for a lot of things, but then there's other people out there that seem to have time for all of the things that are important to them, that they have prioritized in their life. So why is it that some people have a better value of time? Why is it that some people are just better at achieving all of the things that they want to? So one thing that I have come to realize is that no matter what was going on, like I'm 36 this year, right? I will turn 37 later this year. But as I look back into my teen years and my 20s, there's a lot of stuff that happened to me in my 20s. A lot of it was major life changes, childbirth, divorce, remarriage, accomplishing school, starting and having a business, and then giving all of that up to become, I apologize, but I have somebody at the door. I will try to be back really quickly. Okay, that was just, it was a package. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So I went through a lot of things in my life, and typically when I hear other women or men talking about things that they've been through, there's a lot of regret built into it. There's this sense of, well, I wasted a lot of time, or time escaped me and I didn't get to accomplish all of the things that I wanted to. And I've never felt that way in my life. And I was trying to think, why is that? Why is that even though I went through a lot of things, some good, some bad in my 20s, I never have this sense of regret. And my sister and I were having we were having this conversation, and it really helped me pinpoint what it was for me. This is years ago. That no matter what I was going through at the time, or what I've always been going through, I've always taken the time, whether it was through a difficult divorce or childbirth or trying to manage it all. I've shared with you guys in the past how I was 23, on the verge of divorce, pregnant, full-time student at Northwestern University, and running a full-time business. So that was sort of my life when I was 23 years old. So that's a lot for anybody to take on, let alone somebody who's 23 and, doesn't have that much life experience. But now that I really think about it, I think having something to do and having some sort of accomplishment that has served me well years later is what really got me through all the hard times. Because even though, for example, if I had just gone through the divorce and I had just given birth, but I hadn't accomplished my degree, or I hadn't accomplished all of the experience that I have now in business and real estate, I would have probably had regret, because it would have seemed like, oh my God, my life failed and I went through all of these things. But because even despite going through life's hardships, I feel like I've always been able to accomplish something in my life, so that that period of time has something to show for. And that's sort of the topic that I want to discuss with you guys today, how to invest time in yourself so that no matter what happens in your life, there is something to show for it. Because the biggest regret that I hear from my older clients, and a majority of my clients are older. When I started life coaching, I thought that life coaching was a newer thing. You know, it's a newer profession, and so a lot of my clients would be younger. But surprisingly, a lot of my clients range from 40 all the way into their 60s. And I think a bulk of that is because that's the area of time where women find themselves to have a little bit more time and money to invest in themselves. Their kids might be older in school, and they might be coming to realize that they need a little bit of guidance. So a lot of the things that I hear from them when they refer to their past is that concept of regret over all of the time wasted, or what they could have done or they should have done. And yes, it's true, we can't go back and change, the time that's already passed. But that's something to really realize, because all the time that we waste right now will one day become a regret if we don't have some sort of a structure in our life and we don't have a game plan or a blueprint. Hi, Alexa. Yes, I just started. So welcome, everyone. Give this video a thumbs up if you guys are just joining me. So there has to be some sort of a accomplishment in your life, regardless of what you are going through. I know life can bring a lot of hardships. There's a lot of things that people go through. There's childbirth, raising children, divorce, job loss, job changes, illnesses, aging parents. I mean, there's a host of things. But at the end of the day, that's just life. If you're waiting for the perfect moment to accomplish all your goals, there is no perfect moment. I say this a lot to my friends that are always waiting for the perfect time to have children. And I say, there is no perfect time, right? I mean, children are going to take work and investment and energy regardless of when you have them. So I think you can say that about anything. If you're always just waiting for that perfect moment where everything just lines up and, there's birds chirping in the back, good luck. It may happen, but most of the time you just have to kind of make time and just hope for the best and have some sort of a plan to guide you. So this is, now that I'm in my 30s, realizing that regardless of what I went through in my 20s, the only thing that I have of value from my 20s is all of the time that I invested in myself, my education, my business experience, taking care of myself, taking time to learn nutrition and fitness and what works for me and what doesn't work for me. Those are the things that I invested in myself. Even finding my style, that's been important, because I want to talk to you about the concept of investing once and then having that pay for the rest of your life. There's a lot of things that I hear people saying, well, I don't have time for that. But the thing is that you can't afford not to spend time investing in some of those things. And we will touch on some of those things. But so how do we make a blueprint? Let's talk about that. How do we go about making a blueprint for our life and having some sort of a guidance as we go through life? Time is our greatest asset. So to not have a plan in that would be a big mistake, right? So the way I've done mine, and I'm just sharing this as inspiration, is you start with the end goal first of all. So you think, when I am gone, when I'm not in this life anymore, what do I want my loved ones to remember me as? What do I want my legacy to be? And to me, this was really important, because I've shared with you guys how when my mom passed away, my siblings and I would sit down and recall and have wonderful talks. We still do this, 7 years later, about all of the things that we remember about her and the great memories that we shared. And so those things were really important to me, that I wanted my children to remember me in a positive light. And I wanted them to remember a strong person, somebody that was positive, and somebody that they shared a lot of fun, exciting moments with, and somebody that learned and grew with them over the years, and not somebody that was closed-minded or was stuck in a rut, basically, right? And I didn't want to be the type of mom or the type of woman that put my life on hold to raise them either, because I want life to be this fluid thing, and I want them to come along this journey with me versus I've stopped everything and this is what's happening right now. I want all of us to walk together and learn together. So that you scale out really far away. I mean, that's seriously far away, right? When you're gone. And then you scale back and you think of your life, and this is how I do it, and you chunk out your life in decades. And so you think, accomplishments in decades. And then you scale back a little bit and you go in a year, and then quarterly, and then monthly, and then weekly, and then daily. And this is important to me, at least, the way that I think, because again, when I look back into my 20s, which is gone, that's gone now, the best investments that I made that I still value and they carry on with me are the investments that I made in myself. And those were my education, like I said, my business experience, all the books that I read that I still have as part of my being now, and they guide me through my life in child rearing and relationships and just life in general, right? And the investment that I put in myself as far as learning my personal style, learning what makeup looks good on me, what hairstyle is mine, things like that, they still carried with me. In my early 30s, when I got diagnosed with RA, I took a really big chunk of my time in learning nutrition and learning fitness and how that related to my body and how I could cure myself, learning spirituality and being able to meditate and calm myself down and not let other people push my buttons. So now that I've done this, I like to scale out into decades and think, what would I like to accomplish in this decade, so that in the next decade, I have something to show for and not just time lost or time just escaped. And so one thing for me was I could not think of myself, I'm 36, so I can't say, what am I going to be doing in my 60s? Because I don't know what I'm going to be doing in my 60s. I cannot relate to that yet. I don't know what life changes will come about, how my children will be at that time, and different things like that. So all I do is I think about the future decade. So when I'm in my 30s, I think the woman that I will become in my 40s, what will that woman appreciate most? Right? What investments? And as you get older, this becomes easier because you can look back and you have that history. Knowing what I appreciate and I value having done in my 20s helps me a lot, because now I'm able to think, okay, knowing that I value those things that I accomplished in my 20s. Even simple things like I spent and wasted a lot of money in my 20s, but luckily I've been able to value that still now because it taught me a lot of important lessons. So even things that you may think are regretful, you may think of looking at them as regret, that maybe I should have saved all of that money. But no, because I traveled, I loved, I laughed, I ate delicious food, I wore a lot of fancy clothes, and I did all of that, and it became a part of who I am now. So I don't have regret in that. Those are also lessons learned for me, and I value those things as well. So now when I think of my life, I think the woman that I will become in my 40s, she will really value if I have taken care of myself in my 30s. I've worked out, I've developed my self-esteem, my confidence, my ability to be zen when I need to be, my ability to move fast and manage myself, my time better, things that will carry over gracefully into the next decade. And now when I have that template and I've written down those things, I think, okay, that's a whole decade, right? How can I scale that into a year? And so I've shared with you guys the concept of I choose one main thing to focus on for that year. And I go pretty hard on it that year, and I put everything else on autopilot or the back burner. Things I've accomplished in previous years go on autopilot, and things that I want to accomplish someday but I'm not there yet go on the back burner. There's in the back of my mind, but I'm not working on them right now. And this way I don't let myself get too distracted. And if there's people coming at me saying, well, why don't you do this, or you should do this, I say, it's not part of my life plan for this year, or it's not part of my current life plan. And that's it. Nobody needs a further explanation. I don't owe them anything, and that's it, because that helps them know that I have a plan for myself and my life, and I'm working on that right now. So I'm not going to let anything distract me. Now, when I have that year, I break that down into smaller chunks. If there's books or research that I need to do on that topic, I will scale that down to, okay, maybe I can read 3 to 4 books a month. And on a quarterly basis, where would I like to be? If you don't do this, if you just have a life plan, which is amazing, have like a bigger life plan, but you don't scale down, then you don't have any timely goals for yourself, and there's nothing to measure. There's no sense of urgency. There's no sense of, I need to accomplish this in a certain amount of time, and it's not measurable, basically. So for example, if I gave myself the goal of reading 3 to 4 books a month, and I find that I'm only reading 1 book, then that's something that I need to reevaluate, because I know that at the end of the year, I'm not going to reach my goal. I'm not going to have this satisfaction. And something where you are your own boss and you're your own manager, you need that. You need some sort of accountability. Otherwise, you're just going to be wasting a whole bunch of time thinking, oh, there's always tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. I'll do this tomorrow. And tomorrow never comes, right? Habibi said, love this topic. Seems like a great way to love yourself and be confident. It's easy to dislike the decisions we made before and end up being ashamed of ourselves, not confident. That's so true. And I try to extract the positive lessons and the positive things that I learned despite whatever else happened, and let that be the center focus and spotlight of that decade or that year. So yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it. Noreen said, do you think the lack of regrets for you is because you are naturally a positive person? I tend to focus on the positive. That's true. But I think that this is something you can cultivate. So yes, I think that may be true. I tend to focus on the positive, but this is something that I practice on a daily basis. So I know a lot of people can get in the mindset that, oh, well, she's just a naturally positive person, so I can't relate to that, or I can't do that. And I'm hesitant to call myself a naturally positive person, even though I am, because I don't want people to be discouraged. I know plenty of people who are not, I have family members like that too, who are definitely not naturally positive people. It takes a lot of work for them to be positive, but they work at it. And they have good days and bad days, but they work at it. And that is the key point. So this is something that you can cultivate. I promise you. It takes, even for somebody like me who is naturally a positive person, it still takes me effort. It takes daily affirmations. It takes daily forgiveness, daily love to stay positive, because otherwise you can let other people's negative energy or life circumstances or fatigue or whatever is happening to you at the moment change your state. And that's something that Tony Robbins talks about, is recognizing the state that you're in and being able to control that state and change it to what you need it to be. Alexa said, loving Mina's topic today. Good. Thank you so much. I'm so glad. Social media said she also loves this topic. I'm glad. So one thing that I want to touch on, the next thing, is this concept of invest now and get that back, enjoy for the rest of your life. This is something that I've learned from hearing a lot of my clients. So when I'm on client calls, oftentimes they will be talking about things that take up a lot of their time. Basically, they're putting out fires all day long, and then they find that they don't have the time for the things that they love to do or they need to do. And when I say, okay, so what did you do today, or what did you do yesterday? What derailed your plan? A lot of times it's things that if they had initially invested the time to take care of those things, they wouldn't be daily fires. But because they thought, I don't have time to invest in that, they are paying so much more on a daily basis. And one of those things are raising self-sufficient kids. Because I'm dealing with women that are in their 30s or 40s or 50s, you may have children still at home at various ages. And so I've seen children, 8, 9, 10 years old, and children 21, 22, 23 years old still living at home and behaving like toddlers. And to the point where the parent is having to drop everything that they have going on in their life to tend to them. And you are not doing your children or yourself any favors, right? And so I asked, well, what happened? Like, where was this sort of lack of communication or lack of understanding? And a lot of times it seems like there's two things. Either we feel like we should do everything for our children to spoil them or to love them. That's the only way to love our children, is to just do everything for them and love them in that way. Or secondly, which comes up a lot more often than you think, is that it takes too much time to show them something or teach them something. It's too much of an investment. And boy, are you wrong in that, because yes, that initial investment may have taken you maybe 5 annoying days or maybe even an annoying year of teaching them stuff repeatedly, right? Depending on how fast your child learns. But now you're having to pay for the rest of your life because you didn't teach them very important life skills. And that can come and bite you in the back like you can't imagine, right? Who wants a 30-year-old man-child living with you? Not me. I cannot imagine that. And you're ruining somebody else's life in the future. The person that ends up marrying your child is going to have to become a parent to them because you didn't parent them accordingly. So this is a huge time investment that needs to be taken care of if you ever want your life back. Our goal is not to raise children. Our goal is to raise adults, right? And I just picked up a wonderful book at the library. I have not started reading that one. I'm reading something else. I haven't started reading it, but it's called How to Raise Adults. And I love that concept. Even before I read the book, just picking it up, I knew that I would enjoy it because, yes, we need to be raising adults. So if your children are, and one of the things is a lot of people think, well, I can't teach my 14-year-old this because it's going to take a lot of time. She's going to make a lot of mistakes. If you were teaching them something since the day that they were born, by the time they were 14, they would have had the confidence to learn things quickly and not mess up so much. Maybe they would have made a few mistakes, but they would have bounced back from that quickly. And that translates into adulthood. Because things that I typically even would have thought were negative, like I have shared with you guys how I was left for long periods of time taking care of my younger siblings. I was their sole caregiver for really long stretches of time, even though I was a child myself, because both of my parents were working really long hours. And that served me well though, because I got the confidence to make mistakes. Nobody was hovering over me. Nobody was watching me. Nobody was showing me how to do things, but nobody was negating anything that I learned either. So I built the confidence so that when I made mistakes in my 20s, I was really easy to bounce back because I knew that it's just like spilling milk. You just clean it up and you move on, right? Even though it was a car accident or it was something major, I was able to bounce back. If you are not allowing your children the space to be able to bounce back and learn and spill the milk and break some glass and fall and get hurt and do all those things, they're not going to have the resilience later to be able to bounce back. So this is key. Another one is taking the time to learn about your body, your nutrition, your fitness, what foods you can eat and get away with, how your body reacts to certain toxins, how you react to stress, and how you can learn to manage that. Yes, these things take time investment, but if you don't invest time in this, for the rest of your life, you will be managing yourself and putting on fires, and you will not be able to live your best life because you're always in firefighter mode. You're never in this mode of just living and enjoying life and living and enjoying pleasure, right? Living your life with pleasure. So this is an important one. And then finding your style. Right? I meet women in their 40s and 50s that still don't know what their style is. They don't know what looks good on their body. They don't know their colors. They don't know what hair color looks good on them. They don't know what confidence means or what it means to wear the clothes that are so you that you just walk differently. You float. You're just confident. So these things, you just can't afford not to spend time in them. I did that video a few weeks ago on organizing your closet in a way that serves you on a daily basis, and somebody wrote down she said that she thought she never had the time to organize her closet, but after watching that video she realized that she couldn't afford not to because how easy it became to dress yourself. It's key, and not only just in the time management aspect, but I don't want to be that. I used to do this in my 20s, right? When I was still discovering my style, I would make a lot of mistakes, and you go through your day being a little uncomfortable. You're pulling up your skirt, you're pulling down your top, or you don't feel good in what you're wearing. I don't want that to ever happen to me again. So now I am easy to forgive myself, let go of things, and only have the things that I feel like a princess in, because I've earned that. I'm in my mid-30s now. I have earned my style because I took the time to make those mistakes. Now, if you're somebody younger, if you're in your early 20s, I know I have a lot of younger subscribers as well, then I want this video and my videos that I do about the advantages that you have when you're older, the advantage of time, let that be your guiding factor, that use this time wisely to figure these things out. Figure out what makes you tick. Figure out what makes you feel beautiful. Figure out your colors. Figure out your figure. Like, what is your ideal weight, in the sense that what weight makes you feel your most confident? What weight makes you feel like you're healthy, you're energetic? Figure these things out. Figure out the foods that make you feel tired and lethargic after eating them, and the foods that make you feel energetic and make you feel like you're going to take over the world. These are such important investments, because life is like a building block, right? If you don't lay out the right foundation, then you're just always playing catch up. There should be certain things, and I want to do a video on this, on where I think personally you should be in a point in different decades, and what to do if you haven't arrived at that point. How do you catch up? So that may be a future video if you guys want me to do that. But I think that for me personally, just because I've already left the 20s behind, I think cultivating that style and that sense of what makes me me and what makes me unique has been key to being a confident person in my 30s. Because if I don't want to be wasting that time now. I want to be living. I want to be moving forward. And as I do that, I also have this concept of the woman that I will become in my 40s. What will she appreciate? What tracks can I lay right now? What foundation can I lay down so that that woman can be the most graceful and elegant woman? And you lay those those building blocks now in the decade that you are. And I think this is so important to using your time wisely. And if you want further ideas on this, I did a video, a live chat a few months ago called How to Use Your Time Wisely, and I linked that in the description box. But that will go through, that shares sort of my journey of when I became a stay-at-home mom, how in the beginning I wasted time, and then I quickly bounced back up and thought, no, this is a valuable time, because now I can structure my day any way I want to. And how do I not let it escape me? How do I have some sort of structure and sense of accomplishment from every day, so I don't feel like I'm just randomly wasting my life, right? I want every day to be beautiful. I want it to enjoy it with my family. I want to feel luxurious, and I want to feel like on vacation. So that's important. But I also want to feel like that I accomplished something for me that makes me me, right? And that the woman that I will be tomorrow can look back to yesterday and say, this makes me a better person, that I used my time smartly and wisely and I didn't just waste it. So let's see what you guys are saying. Let's see. Talia said, I read that book. You're going to love it. Oh, okay, good. So Talia, I assume you're talking about how to raise an adult. Good. I'm finishing up one right now. As soon as I'm done with it, I'll pick that up. Let's see. Only one single mom said, I just started watching your channel. I feel like I'm so far behind, LOL. Working single mom, and I never feel like I have time for myself. Being a single mom is tough. I've been there. I know how it is. You run around like a chicken with the head cut off and then some. So I understand. But one thing that I can say, having experienced all of that, and now having been on the other end of it, is that the things that the time lost and all of that, like, I can't have that back. It's gone. But the thing that I value from that time, the thing that I'm able to say, it's like my saving grace, is the fact that I still took care of myself as best that I can. It definitely wasn't the way that I take care of myself, but I still took care of myself. And I think what really helped me there was that my mom used to, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but my mom used to always say to me that you are my biggest investment. That she was an immigrant to this country. She sacrificed the man that she wanted to marry and married my father instead, because that's who her family wanted her to marry. And she made a lot of sacrifices basically in her life. And so she would tell us this, and she would say that you are my biggest investment. Without you, I have nothing to show for in life. And that was such a powerful thing. I don't know if it was the right thing to say to children, but I guess it was for me on the receiving end, because I always knew that I had value and I had worth. Because if I didn't, that I wasted my mom's life. Like she had nothing to show for without me. How could I not value myself, if that makes sense? So knowing that I had a great deal of value to her made me appreciate and value myself even more. Because, who can take that on the receiving end and not value themselves? So if you can just realize that you as a mother, and especially as the only caretaker for your children, have extreme value. You cannot afford not to take care of yourself, if that makes sense. You have to put yourself as a priority. Even if it means doing slightly less for other people, start with 1 day a month and build up to 1 day a week of you time, of your me time, of your saving grace. Because if you don't have that, you will arrive one day older, sicker, broker maybe even, and have nothing to show for it. But if you take care of yourself, however, in some small way, that will become the greatest investment of your life. That's all I have for you right now. Like you need to shuffle some things around. I know it's hard. Trust me, I've been there. But you need to make it a priority. You can't light yourself on fire to keep everybody else warm, because then you have nothing left to give. So that's what I'm going to have to leave you with. Simply Me Laura said, yes, a decade video would be great. Good. Sounds like a series. Yes, absolutely. I was discussing this topic with my husband, that I wanted to do this decade series video, and he thought that it might come across as very negative because people may feel bad, and that's not the intention. The intention is never to make anybody feel bad. Again, if you're leading your life with regret, then you're living in the past, and that will show on your face, your skin, your hair. You are not going to age gracefully. I feel like people who don't have regrets, they just bounce through life differently. They move differently. They carry themselves very differently than people who are weighted really heavily with regret. So if I did a video like that, my video would not be on regret. It would be like, this is where I think I would want to be in that decade, and how to catch up if you're not there. And it's important to have a plan and have some sort of a structure. I often have this conversation with my brother, who's my best friend, and we talk about how he has this concept of, I should have been here, by this age. And I try to tell him to get away from that, instead of looking at it on a yearly basis, to look at it as a decade or even in a 5-year period, because otherwise you're literally going to drive yourself crazy. Because if I tell you in a 5-year period and you're not there, you have time to catch up. If you look at it so closely as, I should be, a gazillionaire tomorrow, and you're broke today, yeah, good luck catching up on that, right? So let's build a plan together and get you there, because that's all you can do. You can't live in the past and have regrets, but you can choose to move forward and choose to have some sort of a structure and a plan. And then scale back. The daily part is important too. Scale in. When you zoom in, think of it as like really zooming in, or zooming out, and then slowly zooming back in. The daily becomes important too, because if you zoom into a year and stop there, and you don't have measurable goals, you don't have anything you're measuring, and you will quickly lose yourself there. Because all of us know there's always tomorrow, there's always next month, but there's no accountability. So if I have, for example, if I'm looking to lose weight, and I know I need to lose this much weight in a year, if I scale that down into quarterly and monthly, I have something measurable all of a sudden. I can say, okay, I better be losing this much weight, or gaining this much muscle, or going down this much in dress size, or I'm not making any progress, I'm wasting time. And that may turn into regret, if that makes sense. Hi, Ritu. Yes, only one single mom, absolutely. So, babe, if you're not in my private Facebook group, it's a free private Facebook group where we just encourage each other. We post questions and milestones and things we've achieved, or articles that we're currently reading, or books. Go ahead and do that. That link is in the description box of this video, because that's another way to just connect with the really positive, like-minded women. And I'm just so blessed that that group has turned out into a very positive, group of people just encouraging each other to lose weight and move forward in life. So do that if you haven't already. So guys, I will leave you at that. Thank you so much for spending the afternoon with me. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Love you guys so much. If you're watching this in the rerun, then leave in the comments any questions that you have on that decade series that I will be putting out. In fact, leave me, I need advice, because obviously I'm not in my 40s, 50s, 60s, 80s, 90s yet. So if you are, please leave us advice and I will compile that in a video for all of us. Love you guys so much. Bye.